Good evening. Good evening, friends. All right. Welcome once again to the Caring for Kids Network 2022 Heart of a Champion Gala. I want you to know that you are in for a treat. Tonight's event will help us to continue our vision of inspiring hope for a brighter future for Kansas City's children and their families. You know, when I joined my partnership as a PTA president back in 2015, I could have never envisioned this type of dream being a part of this type of powerful movement. This movement uses contextual four-step process of engagement to help school partnerships achieve goals, collaborate, and build deep relationships for healthier communities. We're now serving 7 school districts, 90 schools, and with nearing 400 community partners. Can you give us a round of applause? So as we get going tonight, I want to thank our board for your support. Please give them a hand. We'd like to thank the band for our amazing music, the caterer for our wonderful dinner, and our amazing sponsors for their support of this event. As well, we'd like to make a special note of thanks to Hope Chapel Church for allowing us to use their beautiful facilities. Before I bring up our host for this evening, I would like to ask everyone to grab their programs. Grab your program. One side of it, you should have a really big orange box. Super cute, right? Okay, that is our QR code. If you would like more detailed information of tonight's program, it can be found on the QR code. As well, that's where you go for the donate button, okay? So don't forget. Shameless plug, right? Okay, now I would like to introduce our host for the evening. Ms. Taylor Johnson is a multi-skilled reporter specializing in multimedia journalism for KCTV5, appearing mostly during the weekday morning show. Before Kansas City, Ms. Johnson employed her dynamic storytelling abilities as a multimedia reporter and a weekend report anchor for WOTV in Terre Haute, Indiana. I practiced that so much. Oh my gosh. Along with her weather reporting, we are excited that Ms. Johnson brought her passion for community engagement to Kansas City. Since coming here, Ms. Johnson has connected with Caring for Kids Network and is a community partner at one of our KCPS schools, Melcher Elementary. We are so glad to have her around the partnership table, and we're so glad to have her hosting our event for the evening. Please help me welcome Ms. Taylor Johnson. Good evening, everyone. You all look so lovely tonight, so let's give it up for you. Just looking so great. I hope you're enjoying your dinner, and also for Portia and her leadership and her hard work. I just want to thank her and Caring for Kids for giving me the privilege to be a community partner and to be able to be a liaison between the Kansas City community, the schools, and the media. I really feel it is my purpose to be able to be that voice that you all need within the Kansas City community. So I'm very grateful to be here tonight with you all. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So Tonight is going to be wonderful, celebrating the accomplishments of Caring for Kids, but also our Heart of a Champion Award winners, who we are going to hear from in a moment, all the great work that they have done within the school systems all around the KC metro area. But also, in addition to that, we're going to hear from our student winners, our Dream Big winners. And we all know that it all starts with a childhood dream that leads us to our future. And all of these students took the opportunity to share what is important to them and where they see themselves in the future through art, through writing, which is something that is a passion of mine as well, being able to use that sort of self-expression to articulate what you want your future to be. And organizations like Caring for Kids really supports that and really helps to drive that home, to let them know that they can be who they want to be and what they want to be in this world. So we're very grateful for the work that Caring for Kids is doing here. So we're going to turn our attention to the screen to hear from our Dream Big winners and a lot of their goals and what they plan to do for their futures.
What is hope? What is hope? Hope is defined as a feeling of expectation and a desire for a particular thing to happen, and a sense of trust that it will happen. I like to think of it as dreaming with your eyes open. Darling, what is your big dream?
Hi, my name is Eileen, and my biggest dream is to be a vet. Why do I want to be a vet? Because you can help animals.
Hi, my name is Bintu, and I want to be a doctor because I want to help sick people in need.
My name is Tilly. My big dream is to help the world with equality because it still needs a lot of improvement.
Hi, my name is Doll, and my biggest dream is to be an art teacher because I like to see kids enjoying their art and inspired by my art.
Since I was born, my dream job has been to become a doctor. I've nurtured my dream all this time by reading books about how doctors help people and about medicine. At home, when I don't feel well, my mother tells me to lie down and rest. If that doesn't work, my mom gives me medicine. Sometimes my dad buys guava juice and it's a substitute for water. I drink that and it helps me feel better. When COVID hit, my dream has become bigger because I have seen a lot of people suffering and death. It makes me sad and connected to my big dream undoubtedly. I started thinking about how my big dream can impact the community who cares about me. People in the community can come to me and I will listen to their problems. One reason why I want to be a doctor is because I want to treat sick people. I want to treat sick people because I don't want to see people suffer. I also don't want people to be sick around others. When people are sick, they don't have energy. They need to do their jobs. Everybody will miss school or work, and it's hard to catch up when you've been away. It has always been my dream to help others, and I want to help my community. Community helps each other in many ways, like planting a community garden. When people are in desperate need of money or others, community rallies so the family feel loved. It will take many years to become a doctor. I know I can count on my family to support and encourage me when I run into difficulties. In turn, I am there for my family.
When people say they can't breathe, they get ignored by police. I want that to stop because of me. People around the world fight for their rights. How could the world possibly be right without people like me? People who aren't afraid. People like me. I will help this city. People can't be themselves in this world. It makes my stomach whirl. It makes me sick. The inequality needs to stop. People's lives are at stake. This is no history class. This is happening now. It's all around. Yes, yes, even in your very own town. If this doesn't stop, more and more people will start to drop. My face looks deformed to me now, all because of what was said by the crowd. I thought it was beautiful. I guess I was wrong. According to them, my neck is too long, my eye is too low, eyebrows too furrowed. They tell me, you must be disgusted to look in that mirror. I'm not, but they tell me to change. All of the insults, they come in a sequel. Why? Why can't I just be equal? These are the thoughts of many. It breaks me. It breaks me really. My dream, my big, big dream is really, really, yes, truly, helping the world along with equality.
Adults can help me by showing support, giving me ideas, and showing love and encouraging me.
Here at Caring for Kids, we desire that all children would have this same type of hope and reach their highest potential. But we need your help. We invite you to be the caring adult who mentors students, the church where they can go for after-school reading programs, the business where they intern, or even the nonprofit where they can learn the importance of leading with their hearts. Be a part of carrying hope to children and their families as they grow and ultimately achieve their big dreams.
Check, check. Is this on? All right, congratulations again to our Dream Big winners. They have some amazing aspirations, and we wish them all the best with their future. One thing that I do want to remind you is don't forget to make your donations to Caring for Kids and the efforts that they are doing. But also, I want to turn your attention to the back left corner of the room. There's a silent auction over there with some of the pieces of art from the students, and there's also some quilts over there as well that will also go toward Caring for Kids. Now, Portia's getting ready to introduce us to our Impact Award winners, so we're going to turn it over to her.
Thank you. Too many notes. Anybody that knows me knows I have way too many cue cards every time. Okay, so we are excited to come to this portion of our evening, the Heart of a Champion Impact Awards. These individuals are nominated by their peers for their outstanding acts of service in school partnerships, and winners are selected by a non-biased committee, we promise. Before we announce tonight's winners, let's give a round of applause for all of our network nominees. At this time, we will announce the winners for the category of school leadership. Kaylee Charleston. And our Faith Leadership Award, Pastor Steve Williams.
All right, congratulations. So we're going to sit in conversation with our winners this evening. Congratulations to you both. And you can, answer however you like. So my first question to either one of you or both of you, if you both want to answer, just talk about what your experience has been working directly with Caring for Kids and how it has impacted your life.
Well, for me personally, since I work in the schools, I'm a school counselor at Gladstone Elementary School. Working with the community partners has been one of my favorite experiences in my position. It's just great to have the opportunity to work with so many people who care about the kids in the community, and you can just do so much more with all the support of people outside of the school. So I just really appreciate everyone that helps out with supporting our kids.
I find it to be an inspiration, really, to be around the teachers and the staff who are doing the good, hard work of teaching, and to be able to be a part of that even for a little while during the day is pretty amazing. And I always find myself very inspired when as I go into the school and more as I come out.
So Kaylee, this question is for you, working within the school. How do you see a change or even an impact on the children's lives based on the work that the Caring for Kids partners provide to the school? How does it help them to grow and develop?
Well, when we decide on what projects we're going to focus on in our school, I look for what the needs are for the kids, for the teachers, for our school, and a lot of those things can be great, especially in our area. We have a lot of families, a lot of children in need, and they just have a direct impact every day, so those kids know that so many people care about them and their lives.
And my question for you is, what is the importance of incorporating faith in the work that's being done within the schools, especially as it relates to the children?
Faith is important, I think, from the aspect that you trust God to create the connections, to kind of fill in the gaps, and to lead you into places where you are most needed, to be the one who goes and does, whether it is mentoring a child, whether it's supporting the teachers, whether it's sitting with a staff member who has lost a family member. You just trust God to lead you where you're supposed to be and to do what you're supposed to be doing.
Awesome. Well, thank you both for taking the time to sit and talk with me. Congratulations, and I love your tie. It's very perfect for the event.
Man, I feel really bad for the nominating committee because there were so many stories like that. I just would have chose everybody. So I'm glad it wasn't mine for the choosing, because I sit around the table with people like Kaylee and they're amazing every single day. And so now we want to announce the winners for business and civic nonprofit leadership. Two of my for real friends. So for our business leader, Jennifer Abercrombie. And for nonprofit, and he's new to the nonprofit game, come on, my friend, Zach Nicholson.
Thank you, Portia.
Take that.
Yes, ma'am.
Sounds like you got a big crowd with you today. Congratulations.
Yes, we have a lot of our friends and friends here.
Awesome. So I want to start with you, Jen. One of the things that was mentioned about you in the nomination was that you were consistent in your work and the efforts that you put forth. And can you just talk about the importance of showing consistency, especially in the lives of children?
I'd love to. It's so important to just show up every day for the life of a kid, and sometimes the kids don't have that in an adult capacity in their lives, and so somebody needs to be consistent. And the schools are so easy to say yes to. They only ask for things they really need, and it is such a pleasure to just be able to be there and know that whether you're doing something small or something little, that impacts the kids, and it has a hopefully just helps them to have a better day, to learn better, and to grow up to be kind and generous kids.
And so, Zach, can you talk with us a bit? Portia said you're new to the nonprofit world.
Yes.
How do you work to make that connection to the work that's being done with Caring for Kids?
Well, I have been involved with Caring for Kids for about the last 6 years as a pastor with the International House of Prayer. And our first endeavor into it was with the Grandview Middle School, where we started to just fulfill needs, doing a snack program for after-school snacks. And then I just, with the relationships that I started to make with different community members, the staff, and the kids, my heart just continued to get further and further drawn in. And then just understanding the need out there with the reading proficiency especially, that's one of the things that we were really wanting to address, the achievement gap. So I've always felt led over the last few years to start a nonprofit specifically addressing those gaps. And then last summer, we just decided to jump in, and with my previous relationships, we're actually working in 2 schools that we were previously involved with in the Hickman Mills area, and by God's grace, we'll continue to expand that and continue to grow.
Great. So my next question is for either of you, whoever wants to answer, or you both can answer. I'm just going off of, don't be shy. Just going off of what you were talking about building relationships and community connections. How would you say that is important to the work that's being done and setting an example for the children, being able to work together as adults, as grown-ups who have been kids before, and just helping to lead the way for them?
I think one example that I'm thinking of is at the Grandview High School this last week. A need came up where a young lady was doing a dual credit class, and she was having trouble paying the $530-some for tuition, and they sent it out to their partners. And then it was just so awesome to see about 6 or 7 of the different members, each of us throwing in $50, $75, $100, and just that collaboration. And it didn't fall on just one organization that I have to come up with $530. It's all of the partners contributing, and now this young lady is going to be able to get her college course paid for, and knowing on her part that the community is behind her, that we see her effort. She has a 92% in there, and what a tragedy that would be for her to have to drop out. So hopefully she sees, and her friends will see, that there is a community around her that is supporting her, that we're with her. And so just to kind of set that example, we just believe that is making a difference.
Wow, that's a very amazing and powerful story that you just shared with us. That's amazing, and we wish her well. I wish I had a 92.
I'm not going to say what my high school scores were. I barely made it out.
So Jen, I want to ask you, just what is the most rewarding part of being a partner with Caring for Kids?
Knowing that you're impacting the next generation. Kids are kids. It doesn't matter what year they were born. They still have the same needs. It doesn't matter where they're from. They still need to be safe. They need to know that they're loved. And so as a Caring for Kids partner, we can let them know that there are people out there who care about them, that they're not alone in this. We can set the example when we get to be with them in the schools. And I love, and kind of the relationship part, is that we actually build relationships with the school administrators. I consider them friends. One of my favorite things is to run into them at the pizza shop, which happened a few weeks ago. And so knowing that you are making the difference in the life of a child, that maybe that's what they need to make the difference, to help them to just to thrive and to not just exist, but to be the very best kid that they can be.
I love that word, thrive, and we'd love to see that happen. So congratulations to you both, and thank you for the work that you're doing. Let's give them a hand. You're getting a lot of love.
Testing? Got it? Okay. It's my privilege tonight to get to introduce the speaker for tonight, Tony Guy. I want you to know we set this up months ago before the Jayhawks won the national championship. Tony graduated in 1982 from the University of Kansas, where he played basketball, is still ranked as one of the top 50 all-time players in KU history, and that's a pretty good stat when you figure there's over 120 years of history there with KU basketball and the winning record that they've had. Tony is, since that time, he was drafted by the Boston Celtics and played professionally in Switzerland. He is, here in Kansas City, has been a State Farm agent in that business for years. He's a part of the Raytown Partnership. You know, so many statistics like that. He's on the KU Alumni Board. He's been on that. He's been passed on the Athletics Board, all those things. But let me tell you something that meant more to me whenever we were talking before tonight. First of all, it's just nice to look somebody eye to eye, Tony, isn't it? It's just, that's always an enjoyable thing. But as we were talking, he said, we never had something like this when I was growing up in Baltimore. He says, but I do remember there were a lot of people who invested in my life and made a difference. And, you know, I hope you all realize that what you're doing, whether you're teaching in the schools, whether you're in administration, whether you're a school partner, faith partner, business partner, whatever it is, you're creating stories and you're investing in the future of somebody who's going to be a role model for somebody else on down the road. So don't ever think that what you do, and I know it's been a crazy couple years we've all had in here with COVID and be able to be in the schools the way we had before and the way we liked, but you're making an impact on kids. So thank you to each one of you who are working so hard. And with that, I'm going to introduce Tony Guy and let Tony come and share the speak for tonight. Tony, thank you again for making time in your schedule to be here.
Good evening. It's good to be here. This is an amazing crowd. Yesterday, I was on a podcast, a live podcast, and I got to talk about KU basketball for an hour and a half. And my coach, Ted Owens, who lives in Tulsa, Oklahoma, was able to see it live on TV. And I thought, man, it just doesn't get any better than this. And then I come here tonight. This is truly incredible. You're truly amazing, amazing people, and I just thank God for you. Portia, when she called me, she said, hey, I'd like for you to speak at this event we're having. And not knowing much about what the event was about, I said yes, because it was Portia calling me. So I said yes. And so I went online and I started doing my research about caring for kids. Unbelievable. Truly, truly unbelievable. A word about Portia. We met, my wife and I, oh, by the way, that's a pretty special lady right there. Pretty special lady right there. We've been, this is our 39th, we'll be celebrating our 39th wedding anniversary in August. We have 3 wonderful grown kids, but when we met Portia was a sophomore in high school. And our family was pretty young. We had a 7th grader, a 4th grader, and a 2nd grader. And so our family was growing. They were growing up. And Jerry and I started saying, hey, we need to find a church. We loved the church we were at the time. We loved it. But our kids were growing up, and we said, we need to find a church where there's a great youth ministry and a great children's ministry. And we started attending this church not far from our home, Shalom Missionary Baptist Church, and that's where we met Portia and her family. Her mom and dad led the teen ministry at Shalom. And our 7th grader, who was growing up, started attending the youth ministry. And we never, since we had started attending that church, we never had to prompt her or the other 2 kids to get excited about going to church on Wednesday nights and on Sunday mornings. That's how incredible a job her mom and dad were doing in the teen ministry. And my wife and I were so inspired by what your mom and dad were doing, we got involved in the children's ministry, and it took on a life of its own because we wanted to try to make a comparable impact on the lives of the little ones that her mom and dad was making on the lives of those teenagers. I say that to say that if you look at Portia and you wonder where does the love and passion come from for what she's doing, it's in her DNA. It's in her DNA. It's who she is. It's who she is. So to give you some context, so I said, well, you know, why me? Why me? And again, once I did the research on Caring for Kids, I said, oh, I see the connection now. But I didn't know that she knew my story. So to give you some context, I grew up in Baltimore, Maryland. My mom had me when she was 15 years old. I grew up in a bad neighborhood in Baltimore on the west side. She had me when she was 15, had my first brother when she was 17, and had my second brother when she was 18. She had 3 boys by the time she was 18 years old. Didn't have a high school education. We're growing up in a tough neighborhood. And just listening to some of the stories earlier tonight, let me just tell you something. When you're growing up in the hood and there's dysfunctionalism everywhere, I'm talking this dysfunctionalism everywhere, and it's dark. And it's so dark you can cut it with a knife. You know what the average kid in the hood lays in bed wondering? Does anybody care? And so the name of this organization, Caring for Kids, is so appropriate because the average kid growing up in the hood wonders night after night after night, does anybody care? Well, there are a lot of people that care, aren't there? There are a lot of people that care. And one of the things when I would go and talk to youth around the city, I talk to kids, the one thing I would try to enforce was that it's not up to you to worry about or wonder where the help is going to come from. But what is up to you is to do the things that you can have control over. And that's why school is so important, isn't it? Because that is the one thing that they can control. Before I go any further, though, I have to ask this question since I'm on this side of state line. Did you see the game the other night? If I was on the Missouri side, I wouldn't have said that. But in watching the game, if you saw the game, the first half of the game, who had all the momentum? Carolina did, didn't they? They had all the momentum. But the second half started. And what did KU do? And for the life of me, anybody who's ever played basketball at a high level, they know that the first 3-4 minutes of the second half are the most important minutes of the game. KU comes out and does what? Smash them in the mouth, right? KU takes the momentum. Carolina never gets it back. Now, don't get me wrong. They traded back and forth in the second half, but Carolina never regained the momentum, did they? They never regained the momentum. Well, you know, growing up in the inner city, what's tough is to get momentum on your side. That's what's tough. How do we get the momentum? How do I get the momentum on my side? And you know, in basketball, what goes into feeding momentum is winning plays. That's what feeds momentum, is when you're making winning play after winning play. Now, momentum shifts. It can go up and down during the course of the game, but at some point in the game, there's what's called a defining moment. Now, when that defining moment happens, that's when you have a better idea of what the outcome's going to be. Now, we may disagree on when that defining moment took place, but there's no doubt, if you ever watch a sporting event, whether it's a Chiefs game or a KU basketball game, there's always a defining moment when winning and loss, it hinges on a particular play. Well, it's no different in the lives of our kids. It was no different in my life. What was going to be, how was I going to get the momentum? And what would be the defining moment? And that's what I've come to share with you tonight. That's what I've come to share with you. I want to share with you that there were several advocates in my life, and I didn't even really think about it, Portia, until I started doing the research on Caring for Kids. And it made me start to go back and think, well, who was it that made the difference in my life? It started in the 7th grade. 7th grade, we get a new gym teacher. His name is Bob Wade. He was a former NFL football player. He comes in and he's cool, and he dresses. He wore a sweatsuit to work every day. I thought that was the neatest thing. If you get to wear a sweatsuit to work every day, life can't be too bad. 7th grade, and so he comes in and he decides to open up the gym 1 hour before school, and then open up the gym and keep it open 1 hour after school. And you may be thinking, man, that doesn't sound like a big deal. Well, one of the problems in the hood is there are no safe places. There are no safe spaces in the hood. And so what you're doing in these schools is so important, because the school is the place that becomes the safe haven. That's the place where you look forward to going to every day, because it gets you out of the house. It gets you out of the madness. It gets you away from the dysfunctionalism. And so when he opened that gym 1 hour before school and kept it open 1 hour after school, most of the kids in my neighborhood started playing basketball. I had not played basketball up until that point. I didn't start playing basketball till the 7th grade, when he started opening the gym up and making it accessible to us. May not sound like a big deal, but it was tremendous. 7th, 8th grade. I'm building momentum now. I get a phone call from a man named Mr. Lee. He lives on the east side of Baltimore. And he says, hey, he's talking to my mom. I'd like for your son, I'm putting together a basketball team, and I'd like to see if your son would be interested in playing. I was terrible. I was awful. But guess what? Mr. Lee was about 75 years old. He was retired. He knew nothing about basketball. I'm saying he knew nothing about basketball. He would drive from East Baltimore to West Baltimore twice a week and pick me up and take me to practice, and then after practice drive me back home. Now, the gym where we practiced at was on the east side. I was the only kid on the west side. The rest of the kids that lived on the east side, they were within 5 or 10 minutes of the gym. Why did he pick me? I never knew where he came from. But for 2 years, I played on that team. It didn't cost us a dime. He paid for everything. And you know what? Looking back now, it's clear. He just wanted to create a safe place where kids could come and be out of harm's way. We were getting slaughtered on the streets of Baltimore. Slaughtered. And if you read the news today, nothing's changed. Look at the homicide rates. We're getting slaughtered on these streets. So for 2 years, Mr. Lee was in my life. I never knew where he came from. And after 8th grade, I never knew where he went. But I do know he cared. Summer of my 8th grade year, I get a letter in the mail saying, hey, you've been invited to, actually it was in the summer of my 7th grade year. You've been invited to attend an Upward Bound program. Upward Bound was a program, it was being held at Johns Hopkins University, and they were busing inner city kids out to Johns Hopkins University, and we were being tutored. And this would be the first time I would ever come in contact with someone white. First time. Had never met a white person until the summer of my 7th grade year in junior high school. So they bust us out to Johns Hopkins University. And these students they're tutoring us in math and English enrichment. And obviously there would be recreation time and there would be lunch and that sort of thing. We did that every Saturday for 2 summers, my 7th grade summer and my 8th grade. And it dawned on me now, I was getting straight A's, by the way, in school. And so I'm in this program, and I'm thinking, I'm getting straight A's. Why do I need math enrichment and English enrichment? So I'm graduating from Harlem Park Middle School, junior high, and I'm getting ready to go to high school. And so I had chosen to go to Dunbar High School. Dunbar High School in Baltimore is the basketball factory. That's where a lot of the great players from Baltimore, that's where they went to school. So I plan on going to Dunbar High School. And a letter comes in the mail, and I thought it had ruined my life. It was from Loyola High School, saying that I had been offered a scholarship to go out there. Loyola High School is a combination of Pembroke Hill academically and Rockhurst High School athletically. And they offered me a scholarship. My mom said, what do you think? I said, what do you mean, what do I think? I'm not going there. She said, well, it's your decision. I said, well, that's great. If it's my decision, I'm going to Dunbar. Deal's done. 3 weeks before school, I'm sitting on my bed, bunk beds, and I'm sitting on the lower bunk bed, and she comes into our room. She never came into our room. She comes into our room, and I'm sitting there. And she sits down beside me. I'm like, oh, my goodness. What have I done? So you know how when you're a kid, you're thinking, man, what have I do a lot of crazy stuff. What have I done lately? She says, you know what? I said, what's that? She says, I've been thinking. The decision is no longer yours. You're going to Loyola High School. I thought my life had been ruined. But the momentum was building, wasn't it? First there was Mr. Wade, and then there was Mr. Lee, and then there were the tutors. And it dawned on me now, the reason I needed math enrichment and English enrichment was because I wasn't going to go to Dunbar High School, I was going to Loyola High School. I get to Loyola my freshman year, and by the way, I thought my life was ruined because I had never played with white boys before basketball, and I thought, come on, it's not going to work. It's just not going to work. And if you Google best high school basketball teams of all time in Baltimore, one of our teams is in the top 20 of all time, and so it worked out pretty good. It turned out that white boys could play. I was the only black on the team, but I did need the math enrichment and the English enrichment because I was going out to Loyola. I go to Loyola, 9th grade. I almost flunk out. I'm serious. I almost flunk out. Jerry will tell you, we were at a fundraiser at my high school a couple years ago, and while we were at the fundraiser, the president of Loyola High School, who was there when I attended there, he came up to us and he said, hey, Tony, I just want to share something with you. I said, what's that? He says, your freshman year was pretty rough. I said, yeah, I remember. He said, well, no, I'm talking to the point where we just didn't think you could make it here. And we were going to send you home. And so we talk about child advocates. He says, but Jerry Savage, who was the high school coach, he came in and he said, no, he'll be okay. He can do it. And I want to let you know tonight that these young people, just like me, they have the capacity to step it up when they have to. They can step it up. They can step it up. And because the capacity is there, but what's required, though, is some lifestyle changes, right? I mean, I had to, so it gets to the point now where I'm going into my sophomore year, and I realized that, hey, I can't come home after school and hang out with my crew. I mean, I'm getting on a transit bus every morning at 6 a.m. to go to school. I mean, the ride was an hour each way. When I would get home, I mean, it's dark. And so it dawned on me, hey, Tom, if they're your friends, they'll be your friends after all of this. But for now, you got to let them go. Because what's required is called studying. Right? It's called studying. And I mean, I'm not talking about some hours studying. No. I'm talking about 2-3 hours of studying per night. But think about this now. The average kid growing up in the neighborhood I grew up in, they hadn't been exposed to anything like that. They don't know anything about that. But when put to the test and say, hey, this is what's going to be required so that these young people, as you've been saying tonight already, can reach what? Their hopes and their dreams. After all, they're not your hopes and dreams, it's their hopes and dreams, right? So again, how do we build the momentum? Well, we know in basketball, we build it by making winning plays. Well, how do we do it in life? By making winning choices, don't we? Right? It's just one winning choice after another, isn't there? And, you know, what's difficult is when you're playing, you look at that Carolina in that KU game, and you see KU's making progress, but then there's a turnover. Well, then you pretty much have to start all over again, don't you? Don't you? But they can do it. They can do it. Well, let's get to the defining moment, because I'm building momentum and things are going well. And so I end up being one of the top 20 high school players in America, and I could go to any school in the country. And I come out to KU. You say, well, why KU? I was going to go to Georgetown. And again, my mom came and she said, Georgetown's too close. Georgetown's 45 minutes away from here. All your boys will be up there every weekend. No, you're not going to Georgetown. You're not going to Georgetown. And I won't share with you the story how I got to KU because, tonight. But I ended up going to KU. My roommate, freshman year, this guy named David Magley. White kid from South Bend, Indiana. He's also a high school All-American. So I'm an All-American, he's an All-American, and he ends up being my best friend. Toward the end of our freshman year, he comes in, we're staying in the same apartment, and I started struggling toward the end of my freshman year. I don't know if it was just fatigue or what, but I wasn't playing as well as I had been earlier in the year, and he could tell that I was struggling. And he says, hey, Tom, you know, everything's going to be okay. And I said, what are you talking about? He says, you know Jesus Christ? I said, what's he got to do with anything? I mean, I'm thinking my jump shot's not falling. What does Jesus have to do with anything? He loves you. I said, he loves me. Yeah, He loves you. He says, hey, I want you to go to a meeting with me. I said, sure. I go with him, and it's Fellowship of Christian Athletes. And I walk in that room, and I see all these kids, just like me, freshmen and sophomores and juniors. And they're on fire for the Lord. And I'm like, man, what's going on? And, I gave it some thought. And it wasn't immediate. But I watched David and how he lived his life. And David, from the first day that when he went on his recruiting trip at AU, he had a host. They give you a female host that just walks you around campus and that sort of thing. And it just happened to have been her best friend, her high school best friend, was his host. She was the only girl he ever dated at KU. And they've been married 40 years. So I watched how he lived his life, and I thought, man, I tell you what, yeah, I think that'll work. It sure seems to be working for him. And I gave my life to Christ. And so he introduces me to Christ, and then my sophomore year, he introduces me to her. So you can imagine whenever we get together, he says, you owe me so much. You can never repay me. Never. And he's right. Caring for kids. And someone said it earlier. What you're doing it's creating a ripple effect. You remember when you were at camp, and you were at an outdoor camp, and I remember I came upon this pond, and I threw this rock into this little rock into this pond. And you know what fascinated me? How could something so small create such a ripple? And the ripple would do what? It would extend out. It would extend out. Something so small. I mean, think about it. Mr. Bob Wade, Mr. Lee, the tutors at John Hopkins, my high school coach, my roommate and best friend in college. I talked earlier about a defining moment. So all the momentum led to the defining moment when what? I gave my life to Christ. See, that's the game changer. Right? He's the game changer, isn't he? He's the one that can change everything. He's the one that can change everything. You think about this now. I grew up in a neighborhood, there was no mention of God. There was no mention of God in my house. There was no mention of God amongst my friends. But I'm saved. My wife's saved. Our 3 grown kids are saved. Our son-in-laws are saved. And guess what happened the other day? We have 5 grandkids, and the oldest is 6. And he comes over to us and he says, I gave my life to Christ. That's the ripple effect, isn't it? See, what you're doing can impact generation after generation after generation. I'll close with this. Galatians 6, 9 and 10. And let us not grow weary of doing good, for in due season we will reap if we do not give up. So then, as we have opportunity, let us do good to everyone, and especially to those who are of the household of faith. God bless you. Glory be to God.
Thank you, Tony. And thank you to everybody who came out tonight in support of this wonderful and great network. You've heard this evening about the many initiatives of Caring for Kids. As you are very aware, there is a need for Caring for Kids and being in our schools. Caring for Kids is there to support our children. There to support our teachers. There to support our principals. There to support our parents. There to support our communities. There to support the kingdom. With your help today, tonight, and in the future, you will be able to help Caring for Kids mobilize 40 new church partners, 30 new business partners, 30 new civic nonprofit partners. You will help them achieve sustainability goals beyond Caring for Kids districts, supporting 15 existing school partners. You will help them achieve 85% of school goals targeted by principals for partnering support. You would help them support 15 district-selected schools, launch district liaison roles within all networks of school districts. You will help them coach for capacity building and long-term sustainability. Our church has now been partnered with Caring for Kids for almost 5 years now. And during those 5 years, it's been a blessing to see smiles on the principals and the teachers and the children's faces. It's been more of a blessing to our church and to the parishioners of the church to see these smiles by the work because of Caring for Kids being the catalyst which gets us around the table to support our school. I serve as a pastor and a small business owner, both in support of Caring for Kids. And I want to share with you tonight that no business or no church or no ministry is too big or too small to support Caring for Kids. No financial support you offer tonight, today, or in the future is too big or too small to support Caring for Kids. And I believe Portia shared with us how we're able to donate. Tonight, I want you, not just tonight, but in the days ahead, I want you, we're in a day where we can take and we can, with social media, we can forward and we can share with one another. And I want everybody to take this tonight and share it with somebody that may not be here tonight as we support Caring for Kids Network, who supports our schools. Can we do that? Amen. Thank you.
Wow. It's a hot mic. If you're interested in writing a check, you have envelopes on your table. Of course, the QR code is there. Pastor Mike did a great job of laying out the call, and Brother Tony, as I affectionately know him, did a great job of helping us to see what it looks like to help those little round faces, as I like to call them, to get momentum. I say round face because my face is round, and I see them in myself. You guys see my kids. It takes people like Sister Guy, who helped them when they were kids, to help everybody know that they're special. So as you leave tonight, leave with a dream in your heart, to see your little neighbors, your little round faces that maybe run through the grass, leave their toys in your yard, knock on the door for water because it's about to get hot. The dream in your heart, as you look at them, for them to have hope and reach their highest potential. Because you might be the one. You might be the one to be the place they go to when mom doesn't get home quick enough. You might be the one to help them with their homework. You might be the one taking them back and forth to basketball practice. You might be the one that they can lean on when they need to get back and forth to college. You might even pack snacks for them. You might be helping their friend who is homeless, their friend that is in foster care, their friend that is in transition because they're displaced. We have a lot of kids to help. Excuse me. When I think about kids, I get real emotional. We have a lot of kids, y'all, but they're our kids. We can say that with confidence, that they are our babies. Doesn't matter how big or small, whether they're spitting up on us like that precious one or they smelly because they are teenagers. They are our babies. And take that dream with you. Challenge yourself to figure out how you can help a child have dream and reach their highest potential. I'd like to thank each and every one of you once again for gracing us with your presence, having a good time, eating good food, listening to great music, and just celebrating our babies. I hope you have a great night. Be safe. God bless you.
Thank you.